Hey guys, Coach Nick here, back again with the 10-0 Mindset, where my goal is to provide you with all of the tools, resources, and support that you need to create happier, healthier gymnastics. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. In our episode today, we're going to continue on with our self-esteem series. Last time, we covered the first pillar of self-esteem, living consciously. In short, we learned that we need to bring an appropriate amount of awareness to the present moment and to the tasks that we're facing. Otherwise, we're going to lose trust in our mind and in our judgment. Today, we're going to move on to the second pillar of self-esteem, and that's self-acceptance. While self-esteem is something that we experience, self-acceptance is something that we actively do. Self-acceptance can be considered to be a refusal to be in a hostile relationship with ourselves. You can think of self-acceptance as having three separate levels. The first level means that self-accepting is to be on your own side, to be for yourself. In the most fundamental sense, self-acceptance refers to an orientation of self-value and self-commitment that derives from the fact that you're alive and conscious. Some people are self-rejecting at such a deep level that no growth can even begin until that problem is addressed. If it's not, no improvement will hold, no new learning can be properly integrated, and no significant advances can be made. The second level means that being self-accepting implies our willingness to experience, to make real to ourselves without denial or evasion, that we think what we think, feel what we feel, desire what we desire, have done what we have done, and are what we are. It is not the refusal to regard any part of ourselves as alien or as not me. The willingness to experience and accept our feelings doesn't mean that emotions are to have the last word on what we do. Self-acceptance is the willingness to say of any emotion or behavior, "This is an expression of me." Not necessarily an expression I like or admire, but an expression of me nonetheless, at least at the time it occurred. The third level of self-acceptance entails the idea of compassion, of being a friend to yourself. Self-acceptance doesn't deny reality, doesn't argue that what is wrong is really all right, but it inquires into the context. It wants to understand the why. We don't understand another human being when we know only that what he or she did is wrong, unkind, destructive, or whatever. We need to know the internal considerations that prompted the behavior. This does not mean they're justified, only that they can be understandable. Accepting is implemented through a combination of mental and physical processes. The act of experiencing and accepting our emotions is implemented by 1. Focusing on the feeling or emotion. 2. Breathing gently and deeply, allowing the muscles to relax, allowing the feeling to be felt. And 3. Making real that this is my feeling. We call this last step owning it. Too often, we try to fight or conquer the emotions that we're feeling, when really, if we would allow ourselves to accept them, we might be able to move past them, or at least have some more important information revealed to us. It doesn't solve our problems for us, but it gives us a chance to see the problem for what it really is. Let's try a quick exercise or experiment to further your understanding of self-acceptance. Take a few minutes to contemplate, to think about some feeling or emotion of yours that's not easy for you to face. Insecurity, pain, envy, rage, sorrow, humiliation, or fear. When you isolate the feeling, see if you can bring it into clear focus, perhaps by thinking of or imagining whatever typically evokes it. Then breathe into the feeling, which means focus on the feeling while imagining you're directing the flow of air to it and then from it. Imagine what it would feel like not to resist this feeling, but to accept it fully. Explore this experience. Take your time. Practice saying to yourself, "I am now feeling such and such," whatever the feeling is. and I accept it fully. At first, this may be difficult. You may find that you tense your body in protest. But persevere. Concentrate on your breathing. Think of giving your muscles permission to let go of their tension. Remind yourself, a fact is a fact. That which is, is. If a feeling exists, it exists. Keep contemplating the feeling. Think of allowing the feeling to be there, rather than trying to wish or will it out of existence. Welcome to the practice of self-acceptance. Now, let's consider the question. Suppose our negative reaction of some experience is so overwhelming that we feel we cannot practice self-acceptance with regard to it. In this case, let's say the feeling, thought, or memory is so distressing and agitating that acceptance feels out of the question. We feel powerless not to block and contract. The solution is not to try to resist our resistance. It's not useful to try to block a block. Instead, we need to do something more artful. If we cannot accept a feeling or a thought or a memory, we should accept our resistance to it. In other words, start by accepting where we are. Be present to the now and experience it fully. If we stay with the resistance at a conscious level, it will usually begin to dissolve. If you can't accept the experience, accept your resistance to the experience. Finally, we typically encounter two assumptions when people have difficulty dealing with the idea of self-acceptance. One is the belief that if we accept who and what we are, we must approve of everything about us. The other is the belief that if we accept who and what we are, we're indifferent to change or improvement. We think, I don't want to accept myself. I want to learn to be different. But of course the question remains, if we cannot accept what is, where will we find the motivation to improve? If I deny and disown what is, how will I be inspired to grow? There's a paradox here, one that upon closer inspection makes a lot of sense. Acceptance of what is the precondition of change, and the denial of what is leaves me stuck in it. Much like you did with living consciously, we're going to do a short sentence completion activity where I provide 3 sentence stems and you quickly, without reflection, complete the sentence as many times as you can in a minute or 2. Don't think too hard about it, and just let answers flow out of you, seeing what comes out naturally. Let's start off with the first stem. Self-acceptance to me means... Begin filling out your sentence, coming up with at least 5 complete and correct sentences, not worrying about judging if they are technically correct or if they even make sense. Once you're done with that, let's move on to the second sentence stem. When I deny or disown my conflicts, again, take some time to complete the sentence several times over. Once you've completed that, we'll move on to our final sentence stem. If I am more accepting of my actions, complete the sentence multiple times for this final sentence stem, and then just take a moment to check in with your thoughts and your emotions. How are you feeling about yourself right now? As we wrap up, I want to remind you that we can be as frightened of our assets as of our shortcomings, as frightened of our genius, ambition, excitement, or beauty, as of emptiness, passivity, depression, or unattractiveness. We can run not only from our dark side, but also from our bright side, from anything that threatens to make us stand out or stand alone, or that calls for the awakening of the hero within us, or that asks that we break through to a higher level of consciousness, or reach a higher ground of integrity. The greatest crime that we can commit against ourselves is to disown our positives. I hope that this episode has been helpful to you as you continue to work on improving your self-esteem and loving and believing in yourself. I'm so proud of you for taking some time today to work on improving not only your gymnastics, but yourself as a human being.